sung by Edward Meeker, Edison Record. Casey was baseball mad, had the fever and had it bad. Just to root for the hometown crew, every Sue, Katie Blue. On a Saturday, her young beau called to see if she'd like to go to see a show, but Miss Kate said no. I'll tell you what you can do. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Casey saw all the games.
Hi, this is Chris Staley and Jim Devine with the Pastime Club, and we're here with our local Congressman, Rodney Friedlandheisen. Sir, I'd like to understand your thoughts on the Pastime Club and what it means to the local Mendham and Chester community.
Well, Chris and Jim, congratulations on 100 years of the Pastime Club. I've been coming to the parade for, I think, almost 30 or 40 years, and that parade and a lot of what happens to the residents of Mendham depends on your generosity and hard work. For over 100 years, your brotherhood of Pastime members have provided a lot of young people with guidance on sports. You look after older people in the community. You're there for Mendhamites and have been for now 100 years. I'm so proud to be here to support you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and talking a little bit about Pastime Club and youth sports and progress in sports, which is all what Pastime Club has been about for over 100 years now.
Great.
Thank you.
Good. We'll get you that resolution, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Sorry to run out.
Yeah.
I understand you're a lifetime member of the Pastime Club.
Yes.
Why is this 100th anniversary so important?
Oh, it's very important. Very important. Well, it's very important. I was a member. I started in 1950. I was a junior member. At that time, they didn't have a bar. But it's very important because we raise a lot of money to help the kids in all of the different sports.
So are you saying that there's a lot of people there now that wouldn't come if there wasn't a bar?
Oh, no. No, they have to have it.
I'll let it get bar out. Tell me why it's so important to you.
Well, it's important to me because I remember a lot of the old timers when I went in, and then when I was there, we did a lot of work, and it's very important to help the kids. You mold them, steer them in the right direction, keep them out of trouble. Well, we did a lot of things. We had to work on the club. I was on the bowling committee, used to take care of the bowling alleys. And then we used to go on a lot of trips to different, we used to go to a football game up in West Point every year. And I bowled in the Married Couples League. So it was a nice social gathering.
Your wife at night?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, my Polak wife, I had to behave, you know. She was tough. Unfortunately, she's not with me anymore. So she passed away. We had 53 good years.
Good evening. Welcome to the 100th anniversary of the Pastime Club in Mendham. My name is Bernie DeCristofaro. I'm the player manager for 30 plus years. I'm here with Roy White, our distinguished guest from the New York Yankees, and I'm very happy to be able to interview him, ask him a few questions. So, Roy, first of all, thank you for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
Yep. Secondly, when you were playing for the Yankees, what is your most memorable hit, game?
But probably the most memorable hit for almost any guy that's been in the major league is probably the first time that he got a base hit. And the first time that I got my major league hit was my first time up in Yankee Stadium. in 1965, facing Dave McNally with no balls and 2 strikes, and I hit a base hit up the middle for my first major league hit. So that was very memorable to get that first major league hit in Yankee Stadium.
I remember many base hits up the middle because you had such a sweet swing, like Lou Piniella.
Now, Lou was pretty good.
Yes,
He's one of those guys that could get right out of bed and get a hit a line drive somewhere.
Yeah, you know, there are a lot of Met fans in the Pastime Club, but there are also plenty of Yankee fans who remember that had you and Chris Chambliss not been on base when Bucky Dent hit that home run, we would probably have a different history lesson, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was a memorable moment there also. I mean, I didn't hit the home run. Bucky did, but that's memorable for me. For such a big game and such a big moment. I was actually trying to hit a home run when I was up. Was looking for a slider, and he threw me a fastball, and I swung anyway and got a base hit up the middle. Once again, a base hit up the middle. And the least expected guy to hit a home run was probably Bucky, who was in a terrible slump going into that game. And he ended up hitting that 3-run homer to put us in the lead, and we eventually won that game. It wasn't a winning hit, actually.
No.
Reggie Jackson hit a home run later that made it 5-2, and that turned out to be the winning run.
Right. What pitcher actually, when you went to any city, what pitcher was the guy that you did not want to see?
Well, there's a lot of them. When you're not a lifetime 300 hitter, there's a lot of guys you probably didn't like, so I had my share. Mike Cuellar was a left-handed pitcher, pitched for the Baltimore Orioles, had a great screwball that he threw at about 5 different speeds, and it used to give me fits. Hated him. Bert Blyleven had an unhittable curveball. That was torture to see him. And Nolan Ryan was no day at the beach. So those are 3 guys right there. I could go on. It'd be a long list, but those 3 guys there were pretty tough.
The 2 World Series you were in, they were absolutely had to be the highlight of your career.
Yeah, especially, because we beat the Dodgers in 77 and 78, of course, and I'm from Los Angeles. So we're playing the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I had my mom and my dad had a chance to see me play in those World Series, and also have a World Series home run in the 78 series. So that was a big thrill. I think every kid that's ever picked up a bat and ball and played, Little League on up, has always dreamed of being in a World Series and winning a World Series game. So that dream came true for me. It happened.
What advice do you have for young players today? There's a lot of travel teams. There's multiple teams kids are playing for. I mean, personally, I have my own opinion on whether kids should play year-round. But what is your opinion on that?
Well, being from California, the year-round baseball was good for me, because I had a chance to play on a year-round basis in good weather out in Southern California. So, for any young kid, you have to be able to play as much as you can. And that's the only way you're going to hone your skills to be a good ball player. When you're very young, you're probably not going to be playing the same position that you will be when you get older. So it's good to experience a lot of the positions and learn all that you can. Listen to your coaches and really try to learn the game and enjoy the game.
Right. Why is it important to have clubs like this? And why is it important to have clubs like the Pastime Club that support youth athletics? Why is it important?
Well, if you don't have the support of groups like this, you're not going to be able to get out there and play ball. So you got to have people that are sponsors, that back you, that help get equipment and fields for the guys to play on. So it's very important to have these kind of groups.
Any parallels to how you got your start?
You're right, Bucky Dent did win the 78.
Yeah, I was in a Little League program out in Compton, California. So without having people that started that Little League and the sponsors, I might not have got the start that I did.
One last question. Where do you think Major League Baseball is going in the future? Will it be an international sport played not just American National League, but around the world?
I think that probably will happen. Baseball is very big in Japan, as we all know, also in Korea. And, it's been spreading all around the globe. So I eventually see that day where there will be an international game of baseball.
Thank you, Roy.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get started here so we can get through our program this evening in a relatively quick fashion, or as quick as we can absolutely do it. So, my name is Chris Staley. I am going to be your MC for the evening. Help you, guide you through this celebration of the Pastime Club and 100 years of existence on our anniversary today. So, please take your seats. I would like to introduce some of our esteemed guests this evening. From the New York Yankees, Mr. Roy White is joining us this evening. From the New York Giants, Mr. O.J. Anderson's in the back of the room. He will be speaking later this evening. And our keynote speaker this evening, best-selling author Eric Sherman, is with us this evening. So he's going to give us a great conversation. I'd like to invite Jim Devine, our president of the Pastime Club, up to give the invocation.
If you look at the program, Father Mike was going to give the invocation. And for those of you that know Father Mike, you know how special this guy is. Well, he is the chaplain for the Mendham Borough, Mendham Township, Harding, New Jersey Transit, and the state police for their fire, police, and first aid squads. So this guy is really, really busy with community service. He's had an illness, and it's been going on for a couple of weeks. He could not make it here tonight, but I went and I saw him yesterday, and he had a prayer prepared for us, which I am about to read. Gracious and loving God, we gather tonight because we truly believe that you have instilled in us the power and courage to make a difference in our community and in the lives of our young people. 100 years ago, a vision began here in Mendham, in this simple farm town, an outskirt of Morristown, a vision of forming an organization that would eventually create an arena of hope for all young people and for our future generations. This vision continues and sparks the world of activities and sports for this generation and those to come. How great a gift for any community. It was and still is the Pastime Club that brought life to our municipality and continues to provide opportunities for play and socializing. We just experienced an annual Labor Day Carnival, staffed each year by volunteers to welcome people back from the summer respite and also to acquire the finances needed to continue this vision in this organization's for the years to come. And so we pray. And God and Father of us all, our sons and daughters here present, and those who are now with you, who from ages past and respond to volunteers, these gifts of betterment in this town and the Pastime Club. On this 100th anniversary and their founding, please continue to keep them strong, enthusiastic, and committed to the young people. We make this prayer in your name. Amen. Okay, from Father Mike.
All right, I would like to invite everybody to stand like we do at every Pastime Club meeting for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And unfortunately, our Congressman, Rodney Frelinghuysen, who was here a little bit earlier, had to be pulled away. He was going to provide us a proclamation for all of the services that the Pastime Club has provided over the last 100 years. So in his place, Mr. Devine again will come up and talk a little bit about that. Thank you.
Okay, Rodney was here earlier, and I know that a lot of you have got to meet him and shake hands and whatever. But the proclamation read into the Federal Register, a Congressional Federal Register, is really significant for the Pastime Club. We've had other significant acknowledgments of our contribution to social activity this year. We've had proclamations from Mendham Borough, we've had proclamations from Mendham Township, and we've had a proclamation from the state of New Jersey, both from the Senate and from the Congress. In addition to that, our acknowledgement of our contribution to this group, or to this community, really started a year ago when we were read into the Mendes as being, a considerable contributor to the group, to our township in the Mendes. And following up on that, we all know all of the stuff that we give, and people look at the money that we give. And over the years, it's been hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've given to the sports activities. But more than that, we have given of ourselves. We've given our time, we've given our expertise, and we've helped each other and grow. And, as it's written in the Book of Wisdom, if you walk with wise people, you become wise. If you walk with people that do good, you do good. If you walk with the honorable, you become honorable. So all of us that are members of the Pastime Club, of all of the stuff that we do, one of the things that we don't realize is that we become better people by being part of the Pastime Club. We become better fathers, we become better husbands, and we become better people overall. So let's continue this for the next 100 years.
Thank you. All right, we're going to keep this moving relatively quickly. Dinner is served. It is buffet style. Use both sides of the table there to serve yourself. And we'll pick up this program in about 45 minutes once everyone's had a chance to eat. Oh.
Thank you for the way you thought we would be to get here to bring the food.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. We're glad you're here. We're so glad you could make it with us this evening. All right. Please, folks, help yourself to dinner. All right, folks, we're going to get started with our program here. So if I can get your attention, please. So we're going to spend a few minutes and invite some of our guests up to say a few words that are related, obviously, to sports and the Pastime Club. First, I would like to invite Mr. Roy White, roamed left field for the New York Yankees, two-time All-Star, two-time World Series champion. I'd like to invite Mr. White to come up and talk a little bit about youth and sports for us today.
What happened to my question? Oh, you gave me a question. What was that question?
The question was your thoughts on youth sports today.
On youth sports today. Oh, okay. But first of all, I feel like I'm out in left field in the original Yankee Stadium. I mean, I'm so far away from all you guys. But youth sports, I wouldn't be up here speaking tonight if it wasn't for youth sports, because I grew up in Compton, California, and I played in the Compton Western Little League. So without the people to put that Little League together and the sponsors that helped us have equipment to play baseball, I probably wouldn't have got my start in baseball and became a professional. So it's very important, and it's great work that you guys are doing up here to continue that process. I'm going to try to be brief because we have a lot of speakers. Got O.J. Anderson, and I know he talks a lot, man. I've been around Otis a lot. He can go a long time. And we have our featured speaker that's going to be coming up. I believe it's Eric Sherman, so I don't want to cut into his time. But I'll be really brief. And a lot of people ask how I got with the Yankees. As I said, I grew up in Compton, California, was in a Little League program. I played Babe Ruth, American Legion, Connie Mack. I graduated from high school in 1961. And at all the games that we ever played in American Legion, Connie Mack, and high school, I never saw a scout from the New York Yankees at a ball game. So I had no idea that the Yankees had any interest in me being a player for them. And at that time, in the 60s, there was no draft. They didn't have the draft like they have now, where they draft players out of high school. You know, you could talk to any of the teams, and all of us players that were playing in those programs, we knew when the scouts came out, you know, somebody would say, hey, scout from the Detroit Tigers is back there today, you know, watching the game, you know, so we'd all be excited and all that. So it was a complete surprise for me that after I graduated in '61 and I'm playing in Connie Mack League, and I had a knock on my door out in Compton, California, like at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was a scout from the New York Yankees. And he says, Roy, my name is Tufi Hashem. I've been scouting you your whole high school career, and you're the kind of player that we'd like to have in the Yankee organization. And I didn't even like the Yankees, I have to confess. You know, they were in the World Series all the time. My favorite team was the Cincinnati Reds, because they had nice unis. They had the cut sleeves, nice and colorful. You know, because when you're a kid, you look at the uniforms and stuff. You know, you want to look good on the field. So I was shocked that a scout for the Yankees came and was the first one, you know, to offer me a contract. And he says, Roy, we're going to give you $4,000 to sign this contract. $2,000 when you sign, and you'll only get the other $2,000 if you get up to the Yankees. So they're only at risk for $2,000. So I lived with my mom then. You know, my mom and dad, they were divorced. So I went to my high school coach, you know, and I asked him, you know, what I should do, you know, try to get some advice. He says, Roy, well, you want to play pro ball, you know, this is your chance. If you want to do it, you know, you need to go for it. So that day I became a Yankee fan, signed that contract, and I said, man, when I get up there, I'm going to be in the World Series every year. So I finally got to the Yankees in 1965. I was a September call-up, and it was 11 years before I saw a World Series. You know, because the Yankees were getting old then. Mantle was getting older, and Whitey Ford and Ellie Howard. And getting back to that, in fact, that's one of the great thrills for me. After I first got called up to the Yankees in 1965, September call-up, was to come into Yankee Stadium for the first time and to go in that locker room and to look down and see Mickey Mantle putting on his uniform down in the corner. Roger Maris, Whitey Ford, Ellie Howard, Yogi, Bobby Richardson. Bobby Richardson was my idol because I came up as a second baseman, you know, and I wanted to be like him because he was like a gold glove. He could do it all. And, you know, Mel Stottlemyre was there, and Clete Boyer at third, Tony Kubek, Tommy Tresh, Joe Pepitone, you know, the whole guys. And it was like, man, I was watching those guys when I was in Little League, and now I'm up here, you know, and they're still here. So that was amazing. And I got my first at bat after that call-up. We were playing a doubleheader against the Baltimore Orioles in Yankee Stadium. Dave McNally was throwing the first game, and I'm sitting on the bench, just enjoying the game, sitting there looking at Brooks Robinson out there, Frank Robinson, you know, guys I had their baseball cards. And The Yankees was doing very bad that season. I think we were in 7th. That's when they only had, American League and the National League. And it was like the 6th inning, and the Yankees was losing, like 7-1. And all of a sudden, Johnny Keane says, Roy, go grab a bat. You're going to hit for Downing. So I almost had a heart attack. I didn't think I was going to get in the game, So I went over to get my bat, and Elson Howard was by the bat rack. And he says, Roy, when you get up there, Dave McNally likes to throw the fastball tailing away from you. And when he gets ahead in the count, he's going to throw you a hard curveball down and in. So I was like, oh, thanks, Ellie, all right. Getting some advice from Elson Howard, Major League All-Star. So I got up and I was announced. Now batting for the Yankees, number 48, Roy White. And I had 48 then. I didn't have number 6. You had high numbers back then, was not good in baseball. You might not be on the team next year. In fact, one year in spring training, I had number 76. You're definitely going to be in the minors when you had that number. But anyway, I got in. I was batting right-handed, and I was in my Dick Allen right-handed stance because I used to copy everybody's stance that could hit. I used to try it to see if I could hit with that stance. It usually worked. So anyway, I fouled off the first pitch, tailing away, strike 1. Fouled off the second pitch, tailing away, strike 2. So I stepped out, and I remember what Elson had told me because I listened to my elders. Make that hard curveball down and in. So I stepped back in, and I'm thinking down and in, a breaking ball down and in. McNally throws a fastball, tailing away to the outside corner again. But sometimes when you get in a situation where you don't have time to think, you just react. Like when you're driving a car, somebody comes over in your lane, you don't think, I should pull over. You step on the brake or you get out of the way. So that ball was going to strike me out. In the last minute, I just kind of stuck my bat out. I had a line drive base hit right up the middle. Base hit my first time up in the big leagues. So I got down to first, and then the inning was over. I came back in the dugout, and then Mickey Mantle said, hey, kid, this game's nothing to it, is it? But anyway, I ended up playing 15 years for the Yankees. It was great. Had a chance to be in the World Series, 77 and 78. Played against the Dodgers, which was great because I'm from Los Angeles, as I said. Had a home run in the series. And later on, I've coached. I've been in the front office. I did everything for the Yankees, even played in Japan. So it's been a great career being in professional baseball. I loved every minute of it. Had a great time. And happy to be out here before you people tonight to express my feelings about that. And I'll take a couple of questions real quick and try to keep it short so we can keep the program rolling. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask me, I could have talked for a half hour. I had a lot more stuff, but I'm not going to go into it. Okay, I'll get you right here. Best memory of the 78 season besides the Bucky Dent home run? That's kind of tough to top. I guess, just finally beating the Dodgers. I mean, we were down 2-0. They beat us the first 2 games in Los Angeles. And then we came back to New York, and we had Ron Guidry going for us in game number 3. And he was our ace all year. He'd won 25 games that year. And in the first inning, I hit a home run off of Bert Hooton, give us a 1-0 lead. And then Greg Nettles made like 5 great plays at third base that everybody remembers that saved Ron Guidry because he didn't have his best stuff that day. But then we ended up winning the next 4 straight, to win that World Series. So that was a great thrill for me there. Yeah, that's a big moment. Let's get the guy right up here, right? We were just talking in the men's room upstairs. My favorite Yankee that I played with or admired, as I said, Mickey Mantle was a baseball icon. That was tremendous to be on the same team with him and to get to know him a little bit. Actually, I knew him more after he retired than I did when I was playing with him. But Thurman Munson sat next to me for his 10 years that he was on the Yankees, and we became very good friends. And he was probably one of the most clutch players that I played with. So him. I got along with everybody. Chris Chambliss was a great friend. Lou Piniella, Mickey Rivers. We all went to the track on our spare time, as it's been written. These guys don't have any fun anymore. I've been around the current Yankees, and it's kind of boring, I hate to say. One last comment, I guess. I'm going to get off of here, but as we all know, the Yankees season did not turn out too well. They had a lot of promise until we got to September, and everything just went sour. And my feeling is that as long as they're going to rely on the home run, they're not going to be the team that's going to be a World Series team. Because you just can't live and die by the home run. They don't have one hitter on the team that hits 300 anymore since Cano left, 2 years ago. And I don't think you're going to win with guys hitting 250 and 260 to strike out a lot and hit home runs every once in a while. Because when you get in the playoffs, you need base hits, you need guys that can get on. You got to play the all-around game. So when the Yankees can get a couple of 300 hitters in there and start playing the all-around game, then they'll get back up to where they should be. Thank you for having me.
Roy White, everybody. Big round of applause. Thank you very much. All right. So I think any Giants fan knows that this is the 25th anniversary of Super Bowl 25. And the MVP of that Super Bowl has joined us this evening, Mr. O.J. Anderson. Welcome.
Hey, Roy, I had a question for you. No, it's okay. I don't mind following you anytime. The bats that's in the little bat holders, do y'all get fitted for those bats, or are they just everybody has bats? That's how that works? Seriously, I don't know. I don't know about baseball. Are they your own? They are your own personal bats. Do you get them fitted, special made, anything like that? And you get. So do you get the cork and all that stuff in there? I'm learning. I don't know a whole lot about baseball. Oh, okay. That's good. Pastime. Thank you. Congratulations. 100 years. You should be very proud of yourselves. 100 years of making a difference in kids' life and people's life in general. That's something to be commended about. So I'm gonna clap for you. Thank you. That's real good. Like Roy, I'm happy to be here. Like Roy, I'm from Florida, born and raised, West Palm Beach. Actually, I went to the greatest school in the state of Florida. Technically, there's only one school in the state of Florida. That's the University of Miami, a.k.a. the U. And currently, right now, they are on television playing Florida State. Last reading I had, hey, thank y'all very much. How y'all doing? Thank you. I just want you to know, I knew you were coming, so I baked the cake. It's in the back, all right? Don't forget it. I always wanted to do that because a lot of times, and Roy tell you, a lot of times we're running late doing events and trying to cover everything, and we come in right when speakers are talking or something like that, and we like, oh gosh, hopefully they don't call us out. So now I know how I feel, so it feel real good. But like I was saying, I started my whole football career in Florida. I started with Little League. I was about 7, 8 years old playing. I was actually playing tackle football, but it wasn't organized and structured. It's just like your kids. You get a bunch of friends, you go out there and you play football. You see it on television, you guess what player you want to be, and then you go out and you try to do it. And that's kind of how I got started in football. And then leagues like this here, Pastime, kind of helped out by building a foundation, having the opportunity to have those youth football programs that had real coaches instead of your brother, your uncle, your sister, whoever you want to coach you, tell you how to do things. So it was great to have that kind of coaching so you can have a good foundation. So having that done kind of helped me move along the ladder. I was always the tallest and the skinniest guy that played the game, and I was talking at the table. I don't know the lady's name, but she was talking about her son, I think, that broke his nose, hit his nose, was bleeding. Well, when I was young, if I did that, that was you, 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 yes. And when I was young, I if I played too hard, whatever it was, if I did it too long, and I got real hot, I would just start bleeding out of nowhere. Just nose would just bleed. So I was kind of like a bleeder, and it was funny because when I was little, it's like when you play with your sister, and if your sister can make you bleed, that's not a good thing, You don't like being known that your sister made you bleed. But that's how it was with me. I don't know what it was, what caused it to happen. It was just maybe part of me growing up because maybe I was kind of like, my arms were so long and then my legs were so long, and for whatever reason, I always outgrew shoes that were supposed to be like in my age range. I always seemed to outgrow the shoes. So maybe my body didn't adjust at that time. I'm only telling you this, Coach. If you got a kid that is a bleeder, he's gonna get better. What I'm trying to say, it will eventually go away. So parents don't freak out on it. It'll be okay, And eventually I got past that, and then I went on and was at University of Miami. Like Roy was saying, there was nowhere in the world that I could have left University of Miami other than the 4 years that I was down there. That could not have happened. I had a chance my senior year at Miami. They had the Super Bowl down in Miami. It was the Steelers versus Cowboys. And believe it or not, my mom was a Cowboy fan. Yeah, I know you would say that. He's at my table. Only Cowboy in the whole world is at my table. And she was a big Roger Staubach fan. And I had a chance as a senior, and I was over with football, and I was going into probably trying to get ready for the draft. And I had a chance to go pick up the Cowboys family from the airport and bring them to the hotel. And I was 6'2.5". I was 212, maybe 215. And I saw Randy White, Harvey Martin, Tutal Jones, Robert Newhouse, Hollywood Henderson, Cliff Harris, Mel Renfro, what's him back there? And I realized that I could not play professional football. I've never seen guys so big before in my life. And I was at Miami, whose program was just trying to get on its feet. So I called my mom, and my mom's such a good sport. She's like, okay, it's okay. You remember what I told you when you was coming out of high school? If you don't go to college, the Army, Air Force, Marine, and Navy, it will be waiting for you. And when I told her that how big the Cowboys players were, she sent me that same statement again. She said, son, it's not too late. They always take a few good men. So that was on a Friday. So Saturday, I had the pleasure of picking up the Steelers friend. Now I go to their hotel. Guess who I meet and see? Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Mel Blount. Ladies and gentlemen, Mel Blount is 6'4.5". He was a defense back. For those ladies who may not know what that is, but I believe you all do, he's somebody who liked to knock people like me down. But he was tall, more like a receiver than a defensive back. I saw him. I saw Donnie Shell, who was about like Jeff's size. See Jeff standing up? He's about Jeff's size. He was about like right here, so I figured I could take him. So I wasn't worried about him, but he was tough. And then I saw Randy White, no, that was the Cowboys. I'm sorry. It was L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert. Bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, I made that phone call again to really make sure that I was not going to play professional football. because, again, they were bigger than the Cowboys. I go ahead and get drafted, first running back pick in the draft, and you know the first two teams I play? I opened up against the Cowboys. When I played for a team that was played in St. Louis, was called the Cardinals. And I ran for 193 yards. Because I was scared to death. They thought it was great that I was running fast. No, I was running because I was scared. I'm just going to tell you the truth of the matter. I was a coward. I'm not afraid to, yes, I did not want to get hit, yes. So, guess who my second game was against? The world champion at that time, Pittsburgh Steelers. I get 100 yards against them too. This NFL football is easy. It's a piece of cake, I'm saying to myself. But behold, 14 years later, being traded from St. Louis to the Giants in 86. Having a chance to play in my first Super Bowl, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you one thing. It is such a great pleasure to play with guys like Roy was calling out all his friends. I got some names I can call out too, Roy. Playing with the like of Harry Carson, who's a Hall of Famer, having to play with Lawrence Taylor, and having to play with LT, and playing with Lawrence Taylor. It was great playing with Lawrence Taylor. I had Phil Simms, and I had the guy who never talked to anybody, Mark Morrow. So it was great playing with guys who really understood the game, and of course George Martin, who was our captain, was one of the guys. And I played against those guys so much, I was so happy that no longer that I was part of their anger, you know. So when I became their teammate, the anger left. So I had to worry about twice a year playing against those guys. I was a part of them. And they were pretty darn good. And behold, 5 years later, we did it again. We won Super Bowl 25, 1990, 91. In Tampa. And it was against a team that no one gave us a chance. And I know all of you in here are going to tell me later on, we gave you a chance. You did not, you liar, you did not. Because I didn't even think we could beat them ourselves. Buffalo Bills at the time was one of the best football teams out there. And if we played them 10 times, I guarantee, ladies and gentlemen, we probably would have won just one of those games. And as Bill Parcells always told us, you don't have to beat them all. You just got to be good on that day. And that's what we were. We were good that day. So again, Pastime Club, 100 years. Thank you so very much, because you really are making a difference. And all of you in here, I know can afford everything over there on them tables. Yeah, I saw the parking lot coming in here. And if I don't see all that stuff gone, I'm going to be highly disappointed. Because you pay more taxes than what's over there. I know that. So make us proud. You've been great. You have done so much tonight. And we just actually just do just a tab a little bit more. I'm just looking forward to seeing that table cleared, and special Giants and Yankee stuff that's over there. If you were to win those, Roy and I would be more than happy to take a picture with you. That might encourage you to get them. And that it would be great, and it's for a great cause. So again, thank you for being here. The food was fantastic to all who were hard at work making that food special. I didn't get a chance to get all of it. I just had the salad, so I'm going to just say the salad was great. Everything else I couldn't eat because I'm too fat. I'm not afraid to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sit down after this. Let me just tell you this. You know you're too fat when you bend over to tie your shoes and you almost faint.
Big round of applause for Mr. O.J. Anderson. All right, so now we come to our keynote speaker. For those, I think everybody knows, baseball is kind of near and dear to the Pastime Club. We've been associated and have coached and have been a part of baseball since 1906, even before the Pastime Club was a club in itself. So our roots and our DNA are kind of built in baseball. Our next speaker is a best-selling, New York Times best-selling author who writes and is passionate about writing baseball stories that transcend the sport. And so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Eric Sherman.
Well, that is a long walk, and I must say it's a very, very tough thing to follow, not just a Super Bowl champion, but a Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. So it's an honor to be following OJ. And Roy White had 160 home runs. And you know, I've written a couple of books, well, one with Mookie Wilson, and I just finished another one. I traveled over 40,000 miles around the country to meet with the 86 Mets. And a lot of those Mets from the 86 team, they've had challenges in their lives, and they've worked to overcome them. But it was truly one of the greatest teams of all time and one of the most celebrated teams. But when I grew up, my father was a Yankee fan. So even though I started watching baseball in '73 when the Mets made the World Series against the A's, my dad was a huge Yankee fan. And so Roy White, getting a chance to meet him, was just such a thrill this evening. You know, Roy White hit 160 career home runs, played 15 years, so that's about 11 home runs a year. I swear every 160 of those home runs either tied a game or won the game for the Yankees. He was maybe the most incredible clutch hitter that the Yankees have ever had, truly. Roy White was as much a clutch hitter as Reggie, as much a clutch hitter as Nettles in the field as well. Roy White meant so much to those Yankee teams of the late 70s. So just an honor to attempt to follow these two New York icons, for sure. With baseball, I think former baseball commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti said it best. He said, "It's designed to break your heart. It begins in the spring when everything begins again, and blossoms in the summer, filling our afternoons and evenings. But then when the chill rain comes, it stops, leaving us to face the fall alone." Well, thankfully, the New York Mets aren't leaving us just yet. This is a Yankee crowd, isn't it? Well, before I talk about the three books that I wrote, I just have to say that because they deal with overcoming adversity and stories that transcend baseball, a perfect segue into talking about, you know, some of the books I've written with some of the famous baseball players that I've written the books about is that this is the Pastime Club's 100th anniversary, and the 100th anniversary theme is progress in sports, which made it perfect for me because I haven't written books about Derek Jeter or Mariano Rivera. You know, I mean, these guys, I'm sure that they have, you know, issues with their families like we all do. But really, like a Derek Jeter, you know, for 20 years, he was the superstar of New York. He was the prince of the city. You know, I like to write books about guys that have had to deal with an awful lot in their lives and have had to overcome them. And with Progress in Sports, the first book that I wrote was with a gentleman named Glenn Burke. And my books are up here. And this is actually a baseball bat that Glenn Burke gave me. I was interviewing him 20 years ago. Sadly, he was on his deathbed dying of AIDS. Glenn Burke was the first Major League Baseball player to reveal that he was gay. And once he did, he was blackballed from the game of baseball. This was back in the late 70s. This bat that he gave me, he never lived to see the book published. A movie is now being made by the actress Jamie Lee Curtis of his life story. But he gave me this bat, and it means so much to me because he said that he used it in the '77 World Series against your Yankees, Roy. And it was the only possession that he had because after his playing days were over, he ended up on the streets of San Francisco, was homeless for a while, ended up in prison, and contracted AIDS. So progress in sports for Glenn Burke, today the sport is much more accepting. If you can play the game of baseball, no matter who you are, and baseball has always been a trendsetter, going back to '47 with Jackie Robinson, if you can play the game of baseball today, it's different than it was 30 years ago when Glenn Burke played. It's different than it was 60 years ago when Jackie Robinson was first starting out. So the theme tonight, progress in sports, really hits home to me. So that's the book I did with Glenn. Next book I did was with a guy named Steve Blass, who Roy White may have faced in spring training because he played in the National League for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Imagine being Jacob deGrom. It's a good example. Steve Blass was every bit as good as Jacob deGrom in '71 in the World Series when he beat a great Baltimore Orioles team twice. He gave up 1 run in each game. The Orioles had won 15 straight games until they faced Steve Blass. Blass beat him in Game 3 and beat him again in Game 7. Then he made the All-Star team the next year on top of his game at 30 years old, and the next year he couldn't throw the ball straight. They call it Steve Blass disease. So, since I know that there are a lot of Yankee fans here, remember Chuck Knobloch. And there have been others where guys, it's the inexplicable ability to throw the ball straight anymore. That's what happened to Steve. Steve Blass went from pitching in the '71 World Series to 3 years later selling class rings so he could put food on his family's table. I mean, just a stunning fall from grace. But he reinvented himself. And this is the beauty of competitiveness and the spirit of it. So for the last 32 years, Steve Blass may very well be on his way to the Baseball Hall of Fame as a broadcaster with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he's also one of the funniest people you'd ever want to meet. And the book that I wrote with him almost reads like a comedy book. It's great. And then there was the New York Times bestseller I did with Mookie Wilson. Now, Yankee fans, you gotta love Mookie, right? Okay. So why was Mookie Wilson's story so important to tell? Well, Mookie came from the South. He had to deal with terrible bigotry and racism in 1960s South Carolina. He was the son of a sharecropper, one of 12 children. He had to miss school some days because he had to work on the farm. And baseball was his way out. So again, with progress, if it wasn't for Jackie Robinson, 20 years before Mookie was playing high school, and then college ball, the first African-American to play for the University of South Carolina, and then drafted by the Dodgers. This is interesting with the Dodgers and Mets playing. Turned down an offer to be drafted by the Dodgers. Next year, signed with the Mets, and saw terrible days with the Mets, but helped them turn the club around from the depths of the National League to the 1986 World Championship. And then I think the book also humanized Mookie too, because everyone thought that Mookie, they looked at the 1,000-watt smile and he was always happy, but he really wasn't. He just kind of went along with things. Lenny Dykstra came up and took a lot of his playing time away. And, Mookie, it could have been a very different story if instead of being the team player that he was, going on, becoming free agent, and starting every day for someone else. He would have put in 13, 14 years as a starter. But he so loved playing for the Mets. He was there when they were terrible, there when they became great. and was there at the very, very end of that one-year dynasty that they had. And he famously, of course, made the comment that he feels like a hood ornament now because he wishes that the Mets would look past a lot of the ills from that '86 team and look more at how bright these guys were. The '86 Mets were a tremendous collection of bright baseball men. You know, there was a book, The Bad Guys Won, that came out about 10 years ago, and it really painted the team as being this fraternity, these guys that drank hard and partied hard and were womanizers. But they were also a tremendous collection of baseball talent and baseball intellect. And so that's what the book really focused the most on. Mookie and I had 7 book signings. Over 2,300 people came over those book signings. And you hear the stories. I got to sit next to Mookie for everyone that came up with their book for him to sign. And it was fascinating, the stories about Game 6. Of course, Mookie, he played 13 years, but what's he known for, really? His legacy is that ball he hit up, it was bounced like 20 times up the first baseline, goes through Bill Buckner's legs, and the Mets win Game 6 of the '86 World Series. That's what he's remembered for. That's what's going to be on the poor guy's epitaph. But the stories that we heard, and I have to share my favorite because I think it's just a classic. This woman, I guess she was about 50 years old. She comes up to Mookie with her book, and she goes, "I just want to really thank you for getting that ground ball through Buckner's legs." And so Mookie says, "Well, why? You know, besides the fact that you're a Mets fan." Well, she goes, "Well, understand, I was in labor that night, and Mookie, you came up to bat, and my husband said, 'There's 2 outs in the 10th inning. Mets are down a run. You just have to wait for Mookie's at bat to be over with.'" So there's the wild pitch to tie the game, and then Mookie hits the ground ball through Buckner's legs, and they win it. And the husband took the wife to the hospital. I just, maybe it was the way that she told the story, but she was legitimately so thankful for Mookie for doing that. So I just finished a book which really relates to progress in sports because, like I said earlier, the book it's coming out in March. It's called The Kings of Queens, and I interviewed what I felt were the 14 key and most riveting figures from that '86 team. And Davey Johnson did the foreword, another fascinating baseball lifer. So, when you talk about progress in sports, the sport of baseball has rid itself pretty much of steroids. I think it's rid itself of their illegal drug problem that they had in the early '80s. So when you look at the '86 Mets, you look at them and it's almost like a time capsule, a different time. And like what Roy White was saying, I mean, back in those days, guys really had fun. Like they went out. So like 20 Mets would go out to dinner if they were on the road. Now it's kind of like 25 players, 25 taxis, 25 entourages, or they go out and they work out in the weight room. It's a very different dynamic. The clubhouses now are like country clubs. They're massive. A lot of times the media can't get to them. So the game has really changed. But back then, and when Roy played, guys really got to know each other. They got to know their families. They got to go out. They were on the road. So the Mets had a lot of fun. But a lot has happened to them since their playing days. And some of the guys I featured in the book, like Ed Hearn, he got traded from the Mets. He was in the Dave Cone trade. And he was Gary Carter's backup catcher. Ed Hearn was on his way to being the starting catcher of the Royals. And Ed Hearn became suicidal. And he got over that. But he's been dealing with tremendous illnesses for the last 30 years. So there's that story. There's Keith Hernandez, who left the Cardinals under suspicions of drug use, gets traded to the Mets and becomes the team captain. and arguably should be in the Hall of Fame as the greatest defensive first baseman of all time and the captain of those great Mets teams in the 80s. Wally Backman, who's trying so hard to get into the major leagues. And it seems like he's in every conversation, but he's been the minor league manager of the year 3 times. He's 6 first place finishes. So there's that story about getting back to the major leagues. There's Lenny Dykstra. I mean, an incredible fall from grace. A tremendous baseball player. Then he goes into the business world, makes another $70 million, and then loses it all 18 months later, goes to jail, and now he's trying to make his way back. So there are all these stories, like with Doug Sisk and Bobby Ojeda. So they all, you know, they had this momentous moment together in '86, and it was like a shooting star. So the book really talks about today what has become of them since, how they've tried to overcome their challenges in life, and also look back at that great '86 season. So progress in baseball, yeah, there's been a lot of progress, but there are a few things that I would love to see changed. I would love to see them speed up the games even more than they are now. I would love for the instant replay to go away. You know, I just think it takes up too much time. But again, they've made progress. The wild card is less important than winning a division championship. The All-Star game means something. And I think we have a great new commissioner now that would make A. Bartlett Giamatti very, very proud. So I offer my strongest congratulations to the Pastime Club for all they've meant to this community over the last 100 years and all they'll undoubtedly mean to the community for the next 100. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Give a big round of applause. All right, I'd like to bring Mike Greco up. Obviously, these events just don't run on their own, so we'd like to have a couple acknowledgments, and Mr. Greco is going to take the mic from here.
Thanks, everyone. I know we're dragging a little bit longer than we meant to, but I hope you'll just indulge me for just 2 more quick minutes. There are a couple people we really need to thank. First, to the guys that helped put this together, our best dressed man in the room, our MC, Chris Staley. Dennis O'Keefe, who helped us get all the catering together, which, by the way, I hope everyone enjoyed the food. Gary told us yesterday this is his last ever event. He's retiring tomorrow. So we wish you well, Gary. Jim Devine for all the stuff he did to help us out, and also Keith McNair, Tom Day, and everybody else who pitched in. We also need to thank a couple of groups that have really helped us out. Mendham Little League, Twinborough Bears, Mendham Chester Lacrosse, Mendham Patriots Basketball. Thank you guys for your support getting this together. I also need to throw a special thank you out to my wife, who single-handedly made all the centerpieces on all the tables. I've said it several times the last few days. Somebody told me one time, if you really need to get something done, you ask a busy mom to do it, and she pulled it all off. But there's one more person I need to thank, and I actually want to drag him up here, even though it's going to embarrass him a little bit, and that's Bernie DeCristofaro, who, come on up here. This was actually his brainchild. This entire event was his idea. So I want to say a couple quick words about Bernie. I first met Bernie about 10 years ago when I joined the Pastime Club, and if you don't know Bernie, Bernie's the kind of guy that everybody loves. You know, he's more than like a friend. He's like family to guys. He's like that slightly nutty 8-fingered uncle that everybody has. But Bernie was instrumental. This entire thing was his idea. But tonight's not about Bernie. It's about the club and its 100th anniversary. But when you think about the Pastime Club and you think about Bernie, you think about baseball. I've heard that many a time, that this club is about baseball. And Bernie is stepping down as manager of the Pastime A's, a position that he's held for 30 years. So the Pastime A's have been around as long as the club. Bernie's been a part of it for almost 4 decades. And I want to provide you just a little brief history. Normally I don't read from my notes, but I definitely don't want to miss anything. So in 1974, a much younger and better-looking Bernie DeCristofaro was pitching for a team in Netcong. And, dude, not to date you, I was born in '74, okay? 2 years later, Bernie's a star pitcher for the Route 10 Reds, a team that was beating Mendham, so Bernie got recruited to play for the A's. He joined the team in 1977, his first year in the A's. They won the league championship, and 3 years later in 1980, they did it again. 8 years on the team, Bernie took over the manager of the Pastime A's in 1985. Served the dual role as both player and manager of the team, and in fact, Bernie continued to actively pitch for the next 25 years, placing himself in games as recently as 2013. Now, I want to point out to people that it's not MLB, okay? But there are people who have been on the A's who went on to the big leagues. There are people who were in the big leagues who played, then came and played for the A's. It's as good as any minor league ball you're going to find anywhere. And I'm 41, and if I sneeze hard, I need an orthopedist. And this man at 58 is smoking 20-year-old guns, okay? In fact, the way I heard it the other day was Bernie's fastball isn't quite that fast, mid-80s, but that his off speed is just filthy dirty, and that guy's had trouble with it. So, 30 years manager of the Pastime A's, Bernie had 3 three-peats as manager, and in total won 11 additional titles in the Morris County Major League. As a pitcher, he has 220-plus wins, which, by the way, to put that in context, it's a 25-game season? Yeah, it's not a 160-game season. He's got 220 wins. And I'm talking about winning because, you know, we celebrate winning, right? Winning is success. Success is celebrated. But more than talking about winning, I think we need to note and celebrate both commitment and dedication. Okay, anybody can get lucky. Anybody can win a few times. You don't win 13 league championships. You don't win 220 games without dedication and commitment. And as a club whose motto is progress in sport, we realize it's far more important to stress commitment, dedication in winning because it's illustrative of character. And if 30 years is not the pinnacle of commitment, then I really don't know what is. But I'd like to make a little corollary to the baseball world about Bernie's achievements, and at the risk of insulting the legends of sport in the room, Mr. Anderson, Mr. White, and myself, I'd like to point out that Joe Torre managed the Yankees for 12 years. Tommy Lasorda, a baseball legend whose name is synonymous with Los Angeles, managed that team for 20. Okay, if we actually want to come up with a baseball analogy to compare the tenure of Bernie and the Pastime A's, we have to actually bring up the name Connie Mack. And for Connie Mack's 50 years with the Philadelphia A's, the bum only won 9 times. Okay? It's not boastful or inappropriate to say that Bernie's been the heart and soul of the A's for almost 4 decades. 38 years with the Pastime A's places Bernie in the rare position as someone who's been involved with a 100-year organization for almost 40% of its existence. Okay? His contribution to the A's and to the club Bernie's contribution to the Pastime A's and the club goes beyond what most any other member, frankly, will ever be capable of. So as he prepares to step down as manager of the team on the historic occasion of the club's 100th anniversary, it's only right that we officially recognize this man's contribution in the most fitting way. So where's Nick? It's my understanding that we have never retired a jersey. I also understand this is your favorite one, right? This is the jersey they wore during the 1990s when they dominated the Morris County Major League. And we in the Pastime Club are lucky to have Bernie. I'm lucky and proud to call him my friend, but unfortunately we're not giving you that, okay? We have decided that the most appropriate thing to do is that this will hang in a place of prominent display inside the Pastime Club for all time. But we are going to give you this, and I'm going to read it to you. In grateful recognition, the members of the Pastime Club do hereby recognize the 38 years of dedication and leadership by our brother, Bernie DeCristofaro, as a player and manager of the Pastime A's. His years of service to the A's and the Pastime Club underscore his passion for the game, his unconditional commitment to his players, for which his fellow members shall forever salute him.
You're on a short leash. I've been given words to give you the hook. If you go.
I'm going to keep it very short. Thank you, Pop. I can't find a better fan. Oh, very quickly, I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm happy to be here tonight for the 100th anniversary. This was totally shocking to me, but I do want to thank the Pastime Club for what they are. Pastime Club is the reason I went this long, because I really believe in what they are and what they do. And when you say progress in sports, 100%, that's a great motto. And I just want to thank everyone here who helped put this together. I just had an idea that I couldn't let 100 years go by, and brought it up to the trustees, and they went along with me, and this is the outcome. And it's way more than I ever thought it would be, and I'm very proud to be a Pastime Club member, manager, and thank you all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the bar is open. The band is going to play. Hopefully, the open bar opens some wallets, and we continue to bid on the silent auction items. We are going to start calling them off at about 10:30 in about 40 minutes. So please enjoy yourself, have fun, dance to the band. Thank you for coming this evening.
Well, it's 100 years of Pastime doing great things in the community. It was an opportunity to say thank you, because organizations like that have given me an opportunity to live out my dream and my fantasy. So I get a chance to see other ones and see hearts and souls that they have touched. So it was an honor for me to be here. Well, everybody asks the question, what are your favorite Giants stories? And the only one I can tell you guys is that one time Lawrence Taylor had a pair of shoes that remind everybody of James Brown, and Tony Gabbert put them on and started dancing around with them, and we all thought it was funny. But Lawrence, that's my story.
Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame.